You have to determine ahead of time what it is you want to do. Even if you just want to retire and not do anything, that is fine. After a military career, you've earned the right to just retire, but you have to make sure that you've set yourself up financially to do that.
To the Military Retirement Podcast, where we cover military to civilian transition tips, topics, and experiences from stories from those who have been there and done it. Now, today we have Jessica Marrisette. She's with us sharing her experiences and bringing good info to our community. She's a retired Chief Warrant Officer 3, holds a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in management, a certified Scrum Master, Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellow, and a business owner and senior consultant. Additionally, Jessica is a powerful and charismatic public speaker. Trust me, I've seen her in action. She's even called me on stage at one point. I didn't know what to do, but we got the mission complete. So please welcome her today. Jessica, how are you?
Hi, Victor and John. I am doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. So, Jess, I just want to start out real quick, and you mind if I call you Jess?
Of course.
Okay, all
You're
right,
good.
that's fine. All right, just want to start out. Can you give us, I know I covered a lot there at the beginning. Can you give us a quick synopsis of your career and what caused you to want to transition out of the military into civilian life?
That's a great question. Yeah, so basically, I joined the Army when I was 17. I completed 3 years of high school. So as you can see, I was really ready to get that over with. I joined the Army not really knowing what to expect.
Right.
I had people in my family who had joined the Army, but I don't think that they had joined the Army during a time where I would have even remembered their service. So it was incredibly foreign to me. But I knew that I wanted access to other opportunities. And to me, that was just the easiest way, right? I remember growing up and seeing those commercials, be all you can be. And as corny as it sounds, it was super inspirational to me. So I did it, right? Um, the first 10 years of my career, I served as a paralegal. I had attained my associate's degree and my bachelor's degree at the time. I had continued to serve in what they, as they say in the military, not to sound cliche, but positions of increased responsibility. Um, I served overseas. I served a lot of different installations in the United States. And by that time, um, I'm like, what can I do that is different? I worked in different facets of the Army JAG Corps. So I did some
Nice.
legal assistance. I did some military justice. I helped out in administrative law. I did some ops time where I basically helped with the administrative and operations of the organization. And so I'm always trying to do something different. I don't like the mundane. I don't really like the redundant. So I applied to be an AIT instructor. So basically what that is, it's an instructor for new people serving in an MOS, right? That's what it is. And I was a paralegal instructor. So I did that. By that time, I was in E7. I had made E7 in 7 years. I actually made E7 by the time I think I was 25. I know I was at E6 at, I believe, 22. It was all really crazy. I was extremely blessed. I had I was the youngest person in my office so many times to where I was forced to do things like the board and stuff. So that really helped me to kind of like skyrocket through the ranks. And as upset as I was at the time, I was really grateful for it later on because it did help me to achieve higher ranks faster. And also, being the youngest person or the youngest rank in an office obviously helps you mature because you get to see things that you want to emulate. And then, of course, see things that you absolutely don't want to. Let's just be honest. But anyway, so I really had a desire to teach the young, right? And of course, like you said, I really love public speaking. I am charismatic. I love getting to know people. And plus, I saw them as who I was when I joined at 17. So I kind of wanted a part of that. So I did that. And by that time, I was like halfway through what I knew would be a 20-year career. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what do I do next? So I actually was like, let's just do something completely different. I did want to still serve in the JAG Corps. I really did like my legal family. So I decided to be a JAG warrant. So I did that for 10 years of my career. I had great battle buddies around me, as we call it in the military, pushing me to excel both in my job and in my personal life to prepare me for, what was going to come after the 20. Because I never had a desire to go after 20. I honestly never had a desire to go after 4, to be honest. Um, but what I started to notice was that for a person with my passion and desire, I don't know if it was to be in charge or to be successful. It was extremely hard to do that in the military. And this is what I mean. You can be successful in the military, but the success that you desire can only go so far because at the end of the day, there's someone above you who's in charge. And everyone who knows me would probably agree that, I have a problem not being in charge. And not because I want to be the boss, but because I feel I'm very passionate about things. And when I see issues, my mind automatically starts to formulate solutions. And then if I can't implement those solutions, it's troubling to me, right? And as a legal administrator, that's kind of what we are. We're problem solvers. But unfortunately, solving problems as a legal administrator means that something has to change. And that's when that change management comes. People don't like change at all. It makes them uncomfortable, no matter how small it is. If it's a database or what a policy, it's uncomfortable. And I kind of was like, okay, I've done all these schools, I've gotten all these, certifications and degrees. I'm constantly getting better, but I can't do more. I didn't want to continue to just go from duty station to duty station doing the same job with those same limitations. And so I knew it was time for me to retire so that I can adopt everything that I learned from the military into a civilian, life and career. And that is basically what led me to be a senior consultant and also has helped me tremendously in my entrepreneurial endeavors. Long explanation, but that's the fact.
No, you're all good. I appreciate that. So you feel like like maybe you were tired of hearing that's the way it's always been done. So you wanted to have your hand in there somehow to make changes. Because at least
Oh,
that's what I've always heard.
absolutely. I mean, even that was often the case, or in the case where sometimes they weren't change averse. They
Right.
were too worried about what other people around them thought
Mhm.
about the change. And so it was just more comfortable for them to just accept the status quo than to initiate the change and, work through the pressures or the discomfort of change to get to basically the better solution on the other end. That was a problem to me. I don't care about ruffling feathers. As long as at the end of the day, I know that I'm doing the right thing for the organization, well, the people, the
Mhm.
organization, and
Right.
ultimately, my enterprise or the army. Like, I don't really care if, you know, 17 out of 100 people in the organization are going to be unhappy. Okay, well, 83% are going to be okay. And that was my job. And for me to feel like I can do my job, it was crippling and it actually became very depressing to me. And so it started to affect my mental health. And I would think to say that a lot of my cohort battle buddies have had that same experience. And I wouldn't say I think, I know it because we've had those conversations.
Jessica, if you don't mind, I want to kind of dig into what you just mentioned. You kind of briefly went over it, but I think it's a super, super important point, not just for people who have entrepreneurial, aspirations or who want to be in charge and make change in an organization, in a community, in a country, but also along the lines of the change that comes along when you transition from military to civilian. Now, you pointed out that people are very scared of change, that there's a fear-based element to it. And I think you said something along the lines of people are kind of scared of what other people think of them. I'm going to ask you, do you feel like that's a trait that you don't possess, where you're not really so afraid of what other people think, and where that trait comes from? And if you weren't born with it, how did you develop that actual trait?
That is an amazing question. And I was absolutely born with it. My mother is that person. My father is that person. I don't really know anyone in my family who isn't that person. And that's really on my mom and my dad's side. So I've been blessed to be around a lot of type A people, extroverts, people who just don't GAF. I mean, they just don't. Um, they're honest sometimes to a fault, some of them haven't learned tact, but at least they're honest. If you know they mean well, you'll just kind of dig in to their words and kind of find the meaning, and you'll forgive the way that they, delivered it. I've never, ever been afraid of what people would think about me, ever, for a few reasons. I always try to do the honest thing. I always try to do the right thing. I'm the type of person that sticks up for others. I don't care about being disliked, because you would never say that I told a lie, right? Like, I'm going to be honest about it. I never cared to go along to get along. I'm good. Like, I have enough friends. I have enough family. I got all the love that I need to where I don't have to pretend to be someone that I'm not in order to assimilate into a situation or belong to a group or whatever. So if you ever wanted the truth, everyone knows, come to me, because I'm going to give it to you. I think that was good at first, but then I think some people were like, oh man, we don't want to come to her because she's going to tell us the truth. And then we don't want to, we don't want to act on that truth.
Yeah.
I don't care, and also it's like my faith, right? I think my faith in God also makes me just want to be, without trying to talk too much about that, is like, I love being the spokesperson for the people. I felt that a lot in a few jobs that I had in the military, especially closer to the end of my career. It was very high up. And I felt like people were happy to see someone like me in those positions because I got to be their voice. I got to voice their complaints. I can weed them out, and make sense of them, and all that. Especially, I was a strategic communications officer for the JAG Corps, the strategic communications officer. There was one at a time, and that was me. And then I also worked, in the DEI office, helping to set that office up. So yeah, I don't have a problem being honest. And honestly, I feel good knowing that that's the reputation that I have. If you come to me about something, I'm going to be honest with you about it. If you don't want honesty, go to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I do have tact.
Yeah, no, you do. So I have, for those out there who don't know, I have kind of grown up in the military community, in the legal community, with Jessica, meeting her after going to some of these courses over in Virginia. And yeah, I would say 100% you are that person. You have a magnetism around you that people want to gravitate towards, I think. And a lot of it is because you are honest, you are, charismatic, and you like to pull people up on stage too. So that also helps.
I'm the type of person who will go to a party and bounce around the room. As my husband says, I'm really a social butterfly. He's not. He'll sit there with his bourbon and he'll just watch me float around. And the reason why I float around is that there's always people in the room who feel like they don't belong there. And I'm the person who will go up to a complete stranger who's all alone, looking lost, and try to integrate them. I'll introduce them to other people, and then I'll leave them there, and then I'll bounce along to the next people, to the next, group of people. And that's just how I am. Like, I'm a very empathetic person. And with that, it's kind of hard not to be honest when people are so honest with you about things. You feel that you have to do something with that information. You have to do something about it. And when you're given certain positions or certain responsibilities, you have to do something with it. And you can't care about being liked, because you can't be an honest person and also care about being liked. It's a conflict of interest.
I think that it maybe helped you out in your whole networking, right? As you're transitioning out, Just
Oh
being kind
yeah.
of like that go-to person, open to speaking to people at parties. A lot of folks have trouble with that. I myself am an introverted extrovert, I guess. I get tired of being in social situations, but I know how to turn it on and turn it off,
Mhm.
right? So it's like I force myself to do these things, and it doesn't look like it, but it comes natural to
Right.
you. And I think a lot of folks in the military, it doesn't really come natural to them, so they have to force themselves outside of that bubble, I think.
Yeah.
That's good.
I
That's good to
once
know.
got the loquacious award in elementary school. So now I know what that means. And I'm like, should I be offended? But I literally have the certificate downstairs. I have every report card, every certificate from kindergarten. My parents, I think they really liked me, so they kept it all. But now that
Oh,
I look
that's
at it,
good.
I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now. I'm
Yeah.
looking at old report cards, and it's like, she talks too much, and I'm like, but I benefited from it. I made sense of it.
And I want to ask you a question kind of out of left field. You've been out for a little bit now, and I just want to find out your thoughts about your morning routine, if you have one, and what that morning routine looks like now after retirement, if compared to what it did before you retired when you're still active duty.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I can definitely say I had a great transition because I moved up here to the DC area in 2019 from Texas. So my morning routine there was crazy because I had PT. So I probably was waking up at 5 something in the morning. That was awful. I never got used to that. I never got used to waking up early. I never got used to doing organized workouts. I hated it. It was awful. I mean, I'm all about camaraderie, but let's go to Top Golf or something like pizza. I get it. I am not a non-advocate for not doing organized PT because I understand some people have to be forced in order to at least get it done. Trust me, I know. But it is awful for the people who really like to work out and don't want to be there. So I don't really know where I am on that. But anyways, when I got here, we didn't do organized PT, right? Because everyone's really senior here. You kind of just do it on your own. So I didn't really have to have like early wake ups, like not 5 a.m. But when I worked in the Pentagon, I would definitely probably have to wake up at 6:30 or 7 or something. But now, I mean, I start my day usually with my consulting firm between 7 or 8, and it really depends on what I want to do. I don't even think that most people probably start until 9 o'clock because I don't really see their teams like come on until around then, which is what I love about working in a consulting firm, especially the one I'm in, is it's flexibility. They don't tell you how to do it. You have your project, you have your client, and you do what you need to do the way that you need to do it. So I really love that schedule. And that's what I love about being on the outside is the flexibility of just doing things the way that you want to do them and not having to succumb to someone else's like expectations or requirements. I typically wake up about 5 minutes before I log on because there's no reason not to. I work 100% remote. I'm in my house all day. If I want to get a workout in, if I want to get a meal in, I can do that at any time during my workday outside of, actual calendar meetings. So that's really how my routine is in the morning. I truly wake up and usually I have like a protein shake and 2 boiled eggs every day. That happens. And then I take, my thyroid pill. Like that's the regiment. After that, it's kind of just like whatever the day brings. And then I typically close out. I used to do until 5, but now that I wake up earlier, I close out at 4 and it feels so different. And I just started that at the top of the year. I'm like, you know what? I wonder what it'll feel like to finish my workday at 4 o'clock. And that's exactly what I do. I don't take an hour lunch break like I did last year. I realized it was silly because I really wasn't going anywhere. I'm still in my house. I was eating in front of my computer anyways. And instead of charging my company, I was charging myself. It was silly. And so I sit there with, my fresh juice or whatever my lunch is. Half of the time, I don't even remember to do lunch because now I moved in the basement so I can get away from the fridge, to be honest. And so it's like 2, 3 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, I haven't even had anything but my boiled eggs this morning, um, which is good. I feel so free. I feel like the autonomy is so empowering. My mental health is so much better. I don't feel And I don't know if you guys have ever felt this about any job,
Mhm.
but I got to a point where on every Sunday around 6 o'clock, I got sick. I got sick with anxiety. I got sick with like this strange fear of having to go to work the next day towards the end of my career. I wasn't happy. I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to do something else. I felt like I was not living in my purpose, and it was physically making me sick. It was awful. I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
I go to
I,
bed on Sunday at 2 in the morning.
I think I know what you're talking about with that whole feeling, because I remember thinking like, oh God, right around that time, actually, like 5, in the evening on Sundays, I'd start thinking about what lies ahead, what all the taskers and things I'm gonna have to walk into this guy's office meeting after meeting. And it's not like it is now, where I go to meetings here during the week. It's not that bad, but in the military, I don't know what it is. It was just thinking ahead. I had to put on my
Yes,
uniform. It's this whole regimented thing, and I'm just waiting for it to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So it's kind of like a pit in your stomach feeling a little bit. I
exactly.
kind of understand that, and with that, I know you just mentioned that, you got that feeling, you couldn't wait to get out because you just didn't want that. So your transition process, when did you actually start your transition process out of the Army? Like, did you look ahead like 5 years prior to, or maybe like a
Um,
year prior to?
I really didn't do the 5 years because I really didn't know what to look for at that point.
Yeah.
I will definitely say that I had set some goals. I didn't want to get out with debt, right? Because that's just going to be an added pressure on the outside. I didn't
Yeah.
want that. I definitely knew before I got out, I was going to have at least a master's degree. There's no reason you shouldn't have at least a master's degree getting out of the military. If you're a person that cares
Yeah.
about academics now, if you don't, that's fine. But because I didn't pay for that, I mean, I did take out a little loan for $10,000 and took me damn 10 years to pay it off, but that's neither here nor there. I learned my lesson. It was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
I didn't have to. I just wanted to fast track the bachelor's degree, and that's why I took out a loan to take more classes at a time. But anyways, um, so I did have some goals in mind, but I really only started about, I want to say maybe a year, and that may be giving it a little bit more. Um, but I was like, how am I going to do this? I did the SFL tap stuff, which, some people talk bad about it and some people don't. I mean, I guess it really depends on where you are. I will definitely say here in the DMV area, I thought it
Mhm.
was a pretty good program. The only thing I would say is I actually went through a lot of the classes twice because it was like a fire hose of information. It was way too
Yeah.
much.
Oh
I
yeah.
wasn't retaining anything. And to be honest, I wasn't understanding anything, but I was at least having access to the information. I know the POCs. I know the purpose of the organizations. And then a lot of them had, like slides, brochures, or handouts that they gave out. And so at least I did capture those. So I'll give them that, but it's a lot of information. I don't have the answer to how to make that better, but I will say some of the things I had to do twice because I'm like, what? What was all that? It was a lot. Um, so I definitely did that. Um, I knew that I was going to stay here locally because my daughter was going to be graduating high school that same year. I was going to retire and she was going to go into college. So luckily, I didn't have to try to look for a house anywhere because I know that would have been really tough to do, right? People have to find housing. And thank God I didn't have the pressures of that. Um, I did have, my one business, and I had been doing the other business, but not legit, right? So at least I had, some things that I wanted to work on the outside that I knew, would generate some revenue.
Right.
My body was completely broke, so I just knew I was going to get 100% disability. Like that, from head to toe, there was just so
From
many
the
things.
start.
It was correct. From the start, I was like, I ain't worried about that. I know I'd be good. And then I knew I had, what my retirement paycheck was going to look like.
Yeah.
So that kind of really helped. And then LinkedIn. So I definitely got on LinkedIn pretty early. I highly advocate for that because
Mhm.
that's really how I found my job. I mean, people told me about this place, but I think that that really helped me. I am an advocate for LinkedIn. Put yourself out there, make it extremely professional. Don't put a crazy picture of you, in a t-shirt with a Bud Light on the back porch, like really advertise yourself on there.
Yeah. John,
I
you got to take
also,
that picture down, John. Take the
it's not
picture
your,
down
John
now.
laughed too hard. I'm afraid that's what he looks like on LinkedIn.
That's well, you left out one detail, the South by Southwest banner in the background.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. See, John, okay. You just fit the whole description.
Sorry, not sorry.
Well, you know what? You probably were advertising for the job you wanted, John. How
Right,
about that?
which is not
That's
a job.
probably exactly. They say
I
advertise
like
for
the
the job
twist.
you want, and John, you did just that. So that's not a problem. You did good. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say that. And then I started taking other, like certificate type training on LinkedIn Learning. That was really helpful. It also would appear on your timeline on LinkedIn, so it would show these prospects that you're a continuous learner, which was good. Even things that I knew I wouldn't have time to get a degree in or certification in, at least I was training myself and getting some sort of certificate. Um, but I would say that's the biggest thing that I did to prepare. And then also when I say head to toe, I kind of was preparing for my disability, or at least I knew I would be 100%. Head to toe, I just started going to the doctor and really getting things checked out that I had neglected or hadn't been seen in such time. Because I mean, I'll give it to the military. I have family who don't go to the doctor because they can't afford insurance, or it's free insurance where they live, but then they don't even fit into the requirements to get the free, which is insane because they can't afford what they have to pay for. It's a racket. It's insane. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go, and every issue that I can identify with my own body from head to toe, inside and out, I'm going to go get that looked into now while I'm still serving before I retire, just in case it's a major issue. And I did. I mean, I went to counseling. I got CAT scans on my head, from hitting it a couple times. My shoulders were jacked up. So I went to go get that checked out. I was starting to have wrist issues. In the legal field, we're typing all the time. So I developed carpal tunnel. My knees were bad. I did some time at like Fort Bragg running and rucking, and just, of course, the first 10 years of my career as an NCO, you lead from the front, so you run a lot, and then you run extra after hours because you want your soldiers to be able to run who can't. Blah blah blah. So it was just so many things that I never had even gotten looked at because I was trying to, have the face of a leader. You can't be that way. You have to remember that there's a definitive end to the career and there's a new beginning to your life after. And you have to prepare yourself for that life after. And so getting yourself checked out, getting those profiles if you need to, because that's what's going to really help you, especially with your medical claim too. And a lot of people take that for granted. And I really feel like, especially on the NCO side, because we're taught to lead from the front and just suck it up and all that other stuff. And that's cool and all during your service, but that is not going to be good for you whenever you go to retire.
Yeah, you don't find out until it's too late at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh God, a lot of good information, Jessica. A lot of good. I mean, go to medical, right? I mean, it's free. It's there for you. Or I mean, they take a little bit out of your paycheck, but yeah, there's a lot of folks that I know of the same way who don't really go because they want to suck it up, or they don't want to have that face of a, what is it called, a sick call commando, right? So they don't ever go to medical, and until it's too late, and they're like, oh God, how am I going to live with my life? I don't, either they get out before they're 20 or medically retired or something like that, and they just don't have enough. Not saying that you should rely on that, but it is a nice to have after the fact if you do get a rating. No, excellent. Let's see here. A lot of good notes. Did you want to open up with the next question here?
Sure. I think we can skip the SAP one. We kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. I'm honestly curious about the the Onward to Opportunity myself. I didn't add that on there because I didn't know, but it's I'm really curious about that one. Kind of take us through that so people can prepare, because I know a lot of folks are getting ready, getting ramped up for that next cohort.
Okay, sorry about that. And
No, you're good.
make sure roadside assistance paying for my daughter. She always has so many problems. I'm like, my goodness.
As part of growing up,
Mm-mm.
you learn.
Says this person who yesterday told me, I never really got to make a choice to go to college or not. I just wanted to work. I'm like, do you know how much bills are? Like, girl, shut up. Okay, sorry. They're still not there. Oh God, her tire popped. Literally, we just bought her new tires a couple months ago because they popped.
Oh, God.
She blames the roads, but I drive on the same roads. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's your driving. What are you doing?
She's aiming for the potholes, I think.
She has to. It's insane. Okay.
Stop avoiding those crazy U-turn spots in the road.
Well, when she showed me the tire, I'm like, she's like, the tire just went flat. I'm like, Jayla, she said something about the road. I said, Jayla, look at your hubcap or whatever, your rim. I'm like, look at your rim. I'm like, what happened to your rim? She's like, oh, it was already like, I'm like, you hit something.
Oh,
Like,
oh, man.
seriously, it's a big gash taken out of it. I'm like,
It's the evidence is right there.
but I'm like looking at it. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, geez. Like, it's crazy. All right, I'm
Wowzers.
ready. Sorry.
Okay. So yeah, let me go esoteric real quick, and then we can jump into another regular question. So,
Okay.
I want to go down this weird rabbit hole, and I think it brings up a lot of good information. It's very esoteric, of course, but if you could go back and spend some time with yourself at the age of around 16, maybe put us in the place and time where you were at, your mental headspace at that time, and not necessarily to go back and give yourself advice, but if you were just allotted 20 or 30 minutes to go spend time with your previous self from a previous lifetime, what would that conversation look like? Like, what would you talk about?
I would definitely talk about saving money and just being financially responsible. That's not exactly something that I grew up sort of knowing about, because we didn't really have too much money to save. Well, money was coming in, it was definitely going out. I mean, it was okay because, you know, we had nice Christmases and we went on family vacations and Six Flags and things like that. But I mean, we were more probably, I would say, a paycheck to paycheck type household. But if I could have known then how important it could have been to save $100 every paycheck, you know, in the military, or even invest in the TSP. People would always talk about the freaking TSP, but they never really told you how to do it, you know, so I never did. Luckily on this end, you know, I've done some other things, so it's all good. But definitely that. And then also I would say, you know what? Honestly, I think I did all the stuff that I would have told myself. You know, I really did. Surround yourself with the right people. Don't be afraid to distance yourself from those that aren't right for you. Um, you know, when you make a decision, make sure that it's something that you could live with. I would definitely say that. And I think I did all that. I don't regret any decision that I've ever made. You know, I've made some decisions that, you know, I'm like, good God, that was kind of a waste of, you know, some time, but I don't regret the decision. But yeah, I would say finances, surrounding yourself with good people, because that village is going to get you through so many things in life. They're going to support you. They're going to encourage you. They're going to be there when, you know, you're at your best or at your worst. That is incredibly important. Don't tell people your business, right? Period. Especially if you're going to be in the military. Only tell people the things that you are okay with everyone else knowing, because there's no secrets in the military. Everyone knows everything about everybody, but it's a secret. Like, it's so funny. And then there's so many variations of that secret, of course. So I definitely would say that, which I didn't have that problem. I'm kind of an open book. If you know, it's because I want you to know, or I've told you, or I don't care that you know. Um, I would really just say that. And then, of course, just, be a person every day that you could be proud to, that people would be proud to talk about whenever you die. And not to be morbid, but I think that I'm that person, that type of person. So I think the only thing different that I would have done is just the financial part, because I had a lot of catching up to do in the latter half of my career when preparing to retire, because I did not have just like a financial counsel, at the beginning of my career. And of course, like I said, joining the Army at 17, if someone would have definitely told me it was crazy to accept an 18.75% interest on a Ford Focus, that would have been helpful. But that was my first car,
Yeah.
my first interest rate from the bank that I banked at. Yeah, that was kind of crazy, but
Well, things we learn, right, over time. God,
it's
I
insane. I mean, my God,
I've
I'm
been
at
there.
one something percent right now on a BMW, and that was 18.75 on a Ford Focus. It's disgusting.
You would, well, I mean, looking at the date, you would have been finished paying for it about, maybe this
Now.
year. Yeah, exactly. And
Oh yeah.
you know, and when you mentioned that, like nobody ever told you about certain things like the interest rate or the, accepting the Ford Focus or even the
Mhm.
TSP. That's one thing that I made sure myself to pass on as I retired out. Because I recall nobody ever told me anything about the TSP. Like one of the most important things that, with your
Right.
money in the military, and nobody ever told me, hey, get out of the G fund because
Yep.
it's not going to do anything for you. It's like what, point something percent maybe. And I kept it in there
Exactly.
for so long. And then I would
Not doing
ask people
nothing.
about it. Yeah. I'd ask people about it. I was like, hey, how do I navigate this thing? I
Hmm.
literally got somebody, one of my NCOs, say, hey, just throw it all in the G fund, man, safe. So that's what I did. And, I was a young guy. I was like, man, I wish I would have done things differently. And then once I found out about the CNS
Exactly.
funds, I'm like, oh, okay, this opens up a whole new world, and started going to the financial advisor and seeking financial advice, reading about it, educating myself on it because I had to advocate for myself. I had to do my own thing, right? Because nobody else is going to do it
Exactly.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you use a financial planner or someone like Charles Schwab or whatever, when you're putting money in those type of accounts, they're coaching and mentoring you. They're teaching you, you're learning about it.
Hmm.
There's nothing like that for the TSP. It's like there's this thing, there's no one that you can really call to ask any
Yeah.
questions about, but you just know that you're taking it out of your account every month. I
Yeah.
never was even told to do it. And I definitely obviously wasn't told how to navigate the different types of funds
Hmm.
within that. So I think that was a loss.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it absolutely
Army
was.
and military in general doesn't really have a fiduciary responsibility to educate you on those kind of things. And you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. If you go to somebody like a broker or some financial advisor, uh, one, go seek one of those out because they have good advice and they can give you some direction. And two, make sure that they have a fiduciary responsibility versus just being somebody who's a financial advisor on the internet or
exactly.
something like that. Make sure they've got the not only the credentials, but they have a fiduciary responsibility. I forget exactly what it's called, but fiduciary is
Hmm.
part of the term.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I like
Yeah.
that. I'm glad you said that here so people can write that down and take notes. Make sure they have a responsibility to not only take your money, but to coach you about taking your
Yeah.
money and what to do with it.
Yeah.
And
And
even
the Army
beyond that,
has, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, sorry. I was just going to throw this in real quick. Even beyond that, especially for now, for the ones who are going through the blended retirement system, because the blended retirement is based off of your TSP. And I guess if you're not managing it the same way that you were not managing it 10 years ago, you're going to get the same kind of results on the back end. So just want to throw that in there.
Yeah. And the Army has like financial advisors in the units, right? I don't know how it works exactly in the Army. I know the Marine Corps does.
Um, we don't have financial advisors. Well, we used to have like back in the day, we would have like a unit finance
Hmm.
person,
Yeah.
but they don't even really work in the units anymore. They kind of what do you call it? They consolidate them at like
Okay.
the finance office.
Right.
So back in the day, a long time ago, you would have your finance person, but they wouldn't really help you with that kind of stuff. They would just, if you want to like to change your allotment or start or
Right.
stop BAH, things like that, they'd have that. So the
Is it-
Marines probably could be leading the way then on that if you guys have someone like that.
Well, I don't know. You're giving us too much credit on that side, I think. No, no. So I know like they're usually located in the education centers on the Marine Corps side. I think on the Navy side as well. They have like certified financial advisors located in these hubs, right? And they're usually civilians who are maybe accountants or actual advisors. I don't know what the credentials are. But I only found out about this person after, just my last, I guess my last 3 years in the military, because it was always like seeking out civilians, financial advisors. And I guess I never really sought somebody on base to find out about this. But I feel
I
like,
see what you mean.
yeah,
They
like
probably
actual
could
like
have had
civilians.
someone at like ACS, Army Community Service or something. So, but the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
with that is you probably only knew about it if you were
Mhm.
in financial trouble to the point that your
That's right.
commander or leader
Yeah.
found out about it
Yeah.
and made you go there.
That's because usually it was like the
Like, let's
financial
be
rep.
proactive, right? Not
Yeah,
reactive. I feel like they definitely had people in place to help you in a reactive state. And I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
saying they did it in a proactive state. I'm just saying it wasn't publicized or advertised or
That's right.
communicated enough.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and normally these young folks don't find out about it until they're actually in trouble. Hey, do a financial worksheet
Yeah.
real quick. Go see the financial advisor. And at that point they already accepted the whatever 100%.
Exactly. Or they already got their Article 15, which is taking,
Yeah,
half of their pay for 2 months.
exactly.
And now
It's
I
like,
got to send it to ACS because I know they can't
yeah,
afford this punishment. It's going to be a
that's it.
financial hardship. I mean,
That's
that's
it. So
crazy.
yeah, it really
John, you laugh,
is.
but it's so true, right? Like, I'm going to take
Hey,
half of this kid's
yeah,
pay, and I know he's not going to be able to afford it, but I'm
so
going to
yeah,
punish him.
I'm gonna hit
And
him
then I'm
where it
going to send him
hurts.
to ACS to get some help with his finances.
Yeah,
You're
and
gonna
we're gonna
find you're
pound
gonna
him.
find that financial advisor. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you see this freaking guy wandering around base. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because building 81's here right next to building 1387.
Nothing
That's
makes
why they're wandering
nothing makes
around.
sense. Nothing makes sense, right? Yeah. I don't know
No.
who was the community planner on military bases. I'd like to figure that out.
Ooh, I have
God.
no idea.
Yeah. So Jessica, I wanted to ask you what do you think was your biggest hurdle in transitioning out of the military to the civilian side?
I guess my biggest hurdle was probably a little bit, and I don't want to exactly label it as imposter syndrome
Hmm.
because I am a person who doesn't really lack any confidence, but I feared the unknown. 20 years in the military from 17 to, 37 at that time, I just didn't really know how things would translate. I thought they would translate well. I looked good on paper. My resume looked good, but I didn't really know how that would translate because I was a paralegal for 10 years. I definitely didn't want to do paralegal work. So there's, the first at least 8 years of my career when I was just a paralegal. Okay, that's out the door. So now we got to focus on the last 12 of my career. And the 2 of those years I was an instructor. I wasn't really trying to go into any type of position like that. So now I have to focus on the last 10 years, which was like organizational and operations management, right? And so I'm like, okay, I thought that I got the master's degree that I needed. I thought getting a Scrum Master, certified Scrum Master was good.
Right.
But I didn't know. I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to advertise myself to go into an organization with people who'd been there for years, who had experience on the outside, and all I could bring to the table was my military service. But I was dead wrong. I was so wrong because it really is phenomenal what we build, how we build ourselves in the military. We are incredibly competitive and we're really fast learners, right?
Yeah,
I
that's right.
mean, it's just we don't really have a choice. If you don't learn fast, you could literally die. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of the thought process that we adopt. And so I think that was like the biggest hurdle, was just getting over the fear of not having a job, because I wanted to already have a job lined up before I got out. And so that was kind of the only thing that I was afraid of. Everything else, I was good. I was like, okay, I'll figure out it all as I go, as I need to know about it. But I want to make sure I have a job on the way out. And how do I do this? And it was the LinkedIn, the resume. I actually, SFL Tap had some resume help. I actually utilized this company called Warrior Ethos. And they had someone, and he worked in like Silicon Valley. He actually was a corporate man who was just doing volunteer work, right, for soldiers, because he was just a nice person, I suppose. And I'm sure they have lots of these people who did my federal resume for me. Oh my gosh, have you ever done a federal resume? That is annoying. I mean, a regular resume of 2 pages is fine, but a federal resume, it is awful. They want to know
Like
how much
5
you got
pages?
paid.
Yeah.
It was, yes. So the resume part, the LinkedIn part, and then, prepping for interviews. Luckily, like I said, SFO Tap, they did teach you all that stuff. So I really felt as I was kind of going through the process, I was getting better. And that fear and that lack of confidence is sort of dissipated because I'm like, okay, my LinkedIn looks good. I would hire me. I was actually at that point helping other people get their LinkedIns together. My resume was good. I did my own and I thought I was pretty good at it. But I also had this other guy who did one for me. And then I really just combined the two to get this fantastic resume that really made me look like a superstar, because I was. But also he did a great job. And then, just prepping for the interviews, getting, some items in my wardrobe. It was a lot. I would definitely say that was kind of the biggest hurdle, was really just landing a job. And I think a lot of people worry about that because at that point, you don't know if you're going to get a disability rating. You don't know what it is. So you can't even bank on that. You're going to get your retirement. And I love the fact that we get a pension after 20. But let's be honest, it's not really a lot of money. So I knew I needed to have something else, even with my businesses, right? Because I couldn't bank on those. I had committed myself for 20 years to the Army. I hadn't committed myself 20 years to my business at that point. So I couldn't bank on that. That's just going to be extra. That's something that I'm still building. So it really that was like the key, landing the job, so that before the Army said, this is your last paycheck from us, your last active duty paycheck from us, you already had another one rolling in. And I did for 2 months. I started my job in August and I retired in October. And it was awesome for 2 months to, as they say, double dip.
That's right.
And so I didn't have that anxiety because I didn't have a financial concern, which is a blessing. But I would definitely tell people, because I do see this question posed a lot, even on your page. When should I start applying? 6 months out. And if you're going to do the government ones, for sure, 6 months out. It takes forever. I'm still getting, notifications on USA Jobs for stuff I applied to 13 months later. And I'm like, I don't even remember applying to this.
Yeah, exactly. And I see that too. So, there's an open date, close date, and I've been applying and I'm still getting things from like when I was still active duty applying. And I also, I'm glad you mentioned that because I started applying like a year prior to my, like when I actually dropped my papers, I started applying and I got a call about it. They're like, hey, when can you start? I'm like, I'm still active duty. You're like, oh, well, we need somebody here like in a month.
Yeah.
That was the quickest turnaround, but everything else, it just took so much time. I think 6 months right there, you hit it. It's like the sweet spot. You want to it gives them enough time to review your stuff, but also look at that open and close date. Make sure that you're not too far out if you're looking for a job as soon as you get out.
And don't give up. Like 6 months is fine, because there's a company, for example, that I did whenever I was still in. And like you said, they called, but you were still active duty, right? Same for me.
Right.
I've been out for, I don't know, 8 months maybe. This company just called me the other day and they're like, hey, I know we spoke back in, August, but you were still in. And actually, I think we spoke back in July. They're like, but you were still in. And now we're kind of circling back because, they still have a need. It's another consulting firm. They were looking for a communications expert. And they literally circled back to me all this time later. And so I made an impression. I was just unavailable at the time. So do it early. If the timing is not right, it could always come back around to you. Don't sell yourself short. But I would absolutely say at least 6 months, especially for civilian jobs, If it's too late for them, they'll let you know, but they may call you back. But the USA jobs, 6 to 8 months for sure, because oh my gosh, it takes forever. That process is crazy.
Yeah, it's we could talk. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder how the government even gets anybody hired at this point, because I've been through the gamut. Victor's been through. You've been through the gamut, like literally sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And on the back end, it's great once you get hired, once you get onboarded into the system, and everything's cool. And you can move around, and you've got a little bit of flexibility, and you can move side to side. But up to that point, I mean, I did the same. I started applying probably a year and a half out. And just knowing in the back of my mind, like, okay, I have to hit my retirement date. I have to hit this 120-day window or whatever it is, or have some kind of letter that says that I can actually go take the job. And that takes another process to get that approved. It's a mess. I'd be actually curious to know if you want to share with us the company that was looking for people. If they're looking for some more people, maybe we can get some contact for them.
Yeah, it's actually a consulting firm called Blackstone. So they reached out to me, and this is why I say LinkedIn is important. I made sure my LinkedIn was optimized. I optimized the mess out of my LinkedIn. I even put my resume on there, and I got so many people. They're like recruiters for these companies that reach out to you on LinkedIn. And at first I thought it was spam. And then I'm like, hey, what the heck? I'll just start talking back to these people. And they're not spam. They're actually just people who are paid to recruit people. And then you go from, these recruiters to like an interview, and then, so forth. But that's how I was found. And for so many of these people who reached out to me is LinkedIn. So please optimize that. And these consulting firms, look into them, because you can do anything in consulting. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of consulting to do, but don't sell yourself short.
Yeah. So, Jessica, I wanted to touch on something that's been on my mind since you mentioned it earlier, which is the Onward to Opportunity. You mentioned that you went through the whole thing. You actually took the test. Is that right? For the PMP?
Okay, great question. So I have yet to take the actual test through the PMI, to the PM Institute, the Project Management Institute.
Yeah.
But so I did the Onward to Opportunity program, and I selected the PMP journey. They're called journeys. So what you do is you go through like the week boot camp that was virtual, and then you basically have to do 3 practice tests. You can do many. I actually did a total of like 5 or 6. But you have to score 80 or above in at least 3 of those practice tests before you can submit you have to submit your results for your payment voucher. So the Syracuse program that sponsors Onward to Opportunity will pay for you to sit for your exam. So I did my first test in like January. I did my boot camp in November. My first test in January, I scored like a 60 something. It's 180 questions, and they give you 4 hours, just like the real test. I never thought I was like really like had an attention deficit disorder or whatever until PMP. It is so hard. Like, I mean, I encourage people to do it. It's not impossible. You can definitely do it. You can do anything. Trust me. But reading the stuff boggles your mind. You almost have to visualize every single question to understand how to answer it. And it's a lot because you only have like 30 to 60 seconds for each one. And so I did it in January, and then, life and business got in the way. I downloaded this PMI study hall app on my phone. So since January, when I got downtime, I was doing practice questions, practice test. But then like for the past month, I really hadn't touched it at all. I've just been really swamped with other priorities. So this week I said, you know what, I'm going to get it done, right? Because you got to put a pin on the wall. You got to set a goal. And then that's kind of the best way to tackle things. So Monday, I did a test, and I was like at 70 something %. I reviewed, all the questions, every single one, and all the answers, understood what I got wrong. By Tuesday, I was in the 80s, actually. Wait, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, actually, so Monday or Tuesday, I was probably still in the 70s. But anyways, Wednesday, I finally got to 82. I finally got my first 80.
Mm.
By Thursday, I was at 86. And then yesterday, I was like 90 something on those tests. I was so happy to submit. And so now it says it takes 2 to 3 business days for them to review, my results that I sent to them and to go ahead. And so I'm going to schedule for probably like the end of April, just so I can give myself that entire month to continue to study using the PMI study hall app and their questions and practice tests, not the 0201s through Percipio. But yeah, great program. I mean, I'm going to get the certification and not have to pay for it. That's awesome.
That is, no, that is excellent. So let me ask, does it tell you what you got wrong when you retake the test?
Yes, it does. It
Awesome.
tells you the right answer and it explains to you kind of everything. So if the question is about like what would you do next, in this
Hmm.
scenario, it literally will tell you why you do the right thing next and why those other things are wrong. It may say, oh, this isn't even part of what you do for planning. This is what you do for delivery, or this doesn't deal with the team. This deals with the stakeholder or whatever. Like, so it really helps you to understand the the project management process all around, because it's very descriptive when it's explaining your responses to you. So it's really kind of like, it's really like a course, even though it's a test.
So let me ask Jessica, as I've talked to several veterans who mentioned they want to get into project management because they feel like that's what they've done in the military. I don't know that a lot of people don't realize that project management, just doing a lot of things that your command tells you to do, and actual PMP certification are the same thing. They're not the same thing, right? Would you agree
Right.
with that?
I would agree with that to an extent. Yes. I
Hmm.
feel like sometimes we think we're doing projects, but we're really just doing operations, right? If
Yeah,
it's
yep,
something that
that's
is
right.
happening every day with no end date, it's not a project, it's an
Right.
operation.
That's right.
Um, and I also feel like in a project, you like there has to be some stakeholders, right? Like
Hmm.
who's involved in this? What's the interest? What's the desired goal? Like you have to have like some form of measurement, right? Not just doing something just for the sake of doing it. Some things are
Right.
just tasks. Some things are
Yep.
just activities. Everything is not a project.
Yep.
I do feel like from a legal administrative perspective, we have done a lot of projects that we don't even realize are projects, though, like to
Hmm.
get a new system in the courtroom or a courtroom renovation, or, that is a project.
That's right.
Even something like, believe it or not, planning a dining in or a dining out or a gala. I don't know what you guys call them, Marines, a ball or something.
Yeah, ball. Yep.
That's a project, so
Yeah.
I would say it's a little bit of both. I would say sometimes you're doing a project and you don't know it's a project, but sometimes you're doing just an operation or a task or activity and it doesn't really meet the requirements of a project. Now, what I will tell you though is the Project Management Institute will let you know, because as part of this process, you have to submit an application. And
Okay.
what you do is you put your title that you had when you did this project, you put the start and the end dates, and then you have to explain it. And if you
Hmm.
don't explain it right, they're not going to approve it as hours. And you actually have to have a certain number of hours for them to even approve your application to take the exam. And believe it or not, I, well, they do a random audit. I was the lucky recipient of the audit, right? I never win the lottery or win at the casino, but
But
I would
you
get
do
randomly
win on the
audited, which is
audits. Yeah.
crazy. And so, yeah, so I was audited, and then they denied my application at first because of the way that I wrote, like described the project. And so then I had to redo it. I'm like, well, this is a project by definition. And I just called them and they helped me to basically write it in a way that it looked more like a project than an activity. So yeah, they'll let you know whether it's a project or not.
Did you call the PMI Institute or Syracuse or
I
the web?
did. No, I called the PMI Institute because
Oh,
they're the
okay.
ones who approve, but otherwise, denied my application initially.
Yeah. Well, that's good
Yeah.
to know that they helped out.
Yeah. I was like, what is happening? Yeah, I was a little
So
bit concerned because if you don't get the application approved, then you will never test because the application has to be approved before you test.
Mhm.
yeah, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is you do have to have a ton of, not a ton, but a bunch of project management hours under your belt already. And when you're submitting that
Yes.
application. So what you're saying, I just want to be clear, what you're saying is tracking red, yellow, and green dots on the tracking board every month for the commander
Yep.
is not project management.
No, that's
Okay.
that's operations.
Got it. Just want to make that
Yes.
clear for everybody.
Doing the same thing over and over that does not have an end date ever, that is not a project.
Okay.
Project
welcome.
is a temporary endeavor with a start date and a finish date.
Is that
It's
a test
funny because
question?
now I sound like the textbook.
I was gonna say,
It
I'm gonna write
is.
that down.
It's right here in the PMBOK on
Look,
page
when you hear
275.
temporary endeavor, that's
Oh,
the right
yeah,
answer.
No doubt.
That's really funny, but so true.
Could I ask you real quick, are you an avid book reader?
Actually, no.
No?
Believe it or not, no. When I was growing up, I read all the Babysitters Club books, the Goosebumps books. I love that. And I wanted to get back into that. So one of my girlfriends, her name's Asaba, she reads all the time. She really likes reading horror books and things like that. So about a year or two ago, I wanted to get back into it. So she bought me a book. I read it. It was so good. And then she bought me another book and I halfway read it. My mind, I want to get there, but this is me. I barely sleep because I feel like there's something else I should be accomplishing. So I have this insomnia because I need to do things that have what I feel like is a bigger purpose, more of a payback. And so I don't read books, which is really bad. I want to, but I feel like if I'm reading a book, I'm not doing something else that I could be doing that could generate, some sort of reward, not intrinsic, but more like monetary gain or something like that. I really, really want to be a book reader, but currently I'm not. I can't even read. What do you call those things that read to you? I tried that.
Oh, the audiobook.
Oh God, no, I tried that. I was like, heck no. How do people do this? My mind was in 17 other places. I had no idea. The book was going for 47 minutes. And I'm like, I don't even know what this book's about. So no.
Well, just like you mentioned it, the things that keep you up at night or the things that give you insomnia, are there a few that stick out in your mind? And if so, what are those things? What are some immediate next steps that you're thinking of taking towards those things, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Oh, this is perfect timing for that. So for me, I'm very success driven. I have two businesses. One is called I Do Affirm, and it's an online retail company. But I also have a resource part of that, a YouTube channel, a blog, and then I would hold monthly Zoom meetings to talk about different affirmations. So I Do Affirm. The mission of that is to inspire and promote positive thinking and self-empowerment. And then my other business is Set's Kitchen and Catering. So it's a catering company. And so what keeps me up is that for 20 years, I was in the military and that was my job. That was my career. That is what I wanted to be good at. That's what I wanted to get promoted in and ultimately have better jobs and, positions and more money in. I feel for some reason that now that I'm out and living in my true purpose and sort of, tackling my own real dreams, that I have to do them in such a compact time, right? I have to do them all at once so fast to make up for time, right? Which may not be the case, but that's truly how I feel. And then, another component of that is I want to start a nonprofit organization. So my ultimate goal is to basically serve my community, mind, body, and soul, right? To feed it, to nourish it. And the mind is through I Do Affirm. The soul is through my catering company, and the body would be through different efforts of my nonprofit. That's what keeps me up because I'm constantly thinking of ideas. For I Do Affirm, I'm like, oh, I got to think of this vendor show that's coming up, or, I have to make this t-shirt to mail it out, or, oh, I need to figure out what new item I should put on there to sell, or this next blog, or, on the catering thing, I'm like, I have to prepare for, I don't know, a grazing table for 120 people, how should I cut the fruit? I mean, like, it's insane, right? And that's what keeps me up is I'm extremely goal oriented and I can't stop. It's hard for me to go to sleep with something unfinished. And even if I force myself to do it, I'm tossing and turning all night. So it's like, you might as well just wake up and do it. But this week, I decided to fix that because sleep hygiene is incredibly important. And my sleep has really affected other parts of my life for sure. And that's mental health, physical health. It's just not good to not get great sleep.
Yeah.
But this week I literally sat down and started a comprehensive business plan for my entire thought. Like, this is my whole goal. This is the goals for each individual endeavor. These are, milestones. These how I measure success. This is how I'm going to do funding. This is how I'm going to, whatever. And I really feel like that's going to help me. I need to put some things on the wall. I need to put some dates on the wall so that I don't have to constantly be flustered and frustrated thinking that I haven't accomplished anything, because it's not even something I need to accomplish for 6 months. As long as I did something today to get me closer to that 6 months, I could sleep. And that's a great question because literally that's what I've been doing all week, is focusing on writing that comprehensive business plan. It is really going to help me to just mentally take a chill pill per se. So yeah.
I'm glad you shared all that. And I wanted to ask, along with your business plan and everything you have coming, do you have a mentor that you're reaching out to complete these tasks?
And actually, no. So that's that. And so I just went to like a few weekends ago to a Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce like brunch, and I met some other women who are business owners, and that is really the first time that I've ever been in a room with people who are really trying to, move the balls forward, as one of my girlfriends would say, in their businesses. I have friends who own businesses, right? You own business. We've talked about that before.
That's right.
But most of the friends that I have that own businesses, they're also in the military. So it's not really like a business. It's more like a side gig or like a hobby that they're sort of monetizing on a small scale. That's not my goal. That's not my dream. And so that was like the first time. But I feel like coming from where, my background, I have to like work twice as hard because I don't have that network already established. I don't, nothing was handed down to me. I don't know the people who to talk to about, loans or, filing documents or financial planning for my business or things like that. I mean, some of that stuff I do know now, but in the beginning I didn't. So it's like I'm learning all myself. But I'm really trying to get in with the small business administration here in Virginia. They actually do offer mentors. I just found out. So I'm going to reach out to them and just keep going to different networking things. Eventbrite, I see a lot of this stuff on Eventbrite now. And I'm going to really start going to that stuff because it's way too hard trying to do it myself. And now that I have the time and now that I can see what's out there, I'm going to really start utilizing other people to help me to get ahead. So I'm not working as hard for twice as long. But that's a great question because no, I don't have anybody at the moment, but I see them out there.
But that's excellent that you're actually going out there because you do have that goal that you're out there trying to connect with like-minded folks, and I think that's huge in the whole transition and trying to, establish yourself on the civilian side, whether it be, a career that you want to get into or a business that you want to start. You need to go up, and LinkedIn, like you mentioned, is great for that. You go and you find the pages of the people who are involved in those things, and you just connect to them, find out about local events that are going on. That's the way to success. I appreciate you sharing that, Jessica, because a lot of people need to get out of their shell and actually go towards that. And they're so hesitant because they're just stuck on the, I don't know.
I went by myself. I didn't even know anybody. I felt anxiety going, but I mean, when I left out of it, I had a group text with some women, and we literally check in with each other probably every day or every other day on our group text now about things we're doing in our businesses. And they're all vastly different, but we can share things with each other, and you know how they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Exactly. I do think it's a little bit of both, but honestly, I think you'll get there faster with a who you know. So you have to connect, you have to network, so that the who you knows can learn what you know, and and things just move a little bit faster for you.
Yeah, I think me and Victor experienced that in real time as we're building this podcast and putting things together. Before I was doing it by myself, he was doing his YouTube channel by himself. And somehow serendipitously we met and crossed paths. And I think what happens now is more of, without me having to ask him or say, hey, do you think about maybe reaching out to this person, or do you think about doing this or doing that? Like, he's automatically thinking of what I'm thinking about, and I'm vice versa thinking about what he's thinking about, and we're putting it out in two different directions in the world. So it just multiplies the effect of what we're actually trying to do.
And I actually learned something from you guys, because Victor will tell you, for my I Do Affirm business last, I had one season of what I called affirmation conversations, and they were one-on-one conversations about a different affirmation. And so yours was the blue, I'm capable. So Victor and I had a conversation about the affirmation capable, and where he talked a lot about, his business endeavors and such. But I did that on Zoom. I literally was planning my second season. I've already reached out to Vic to be part of that. And I was literally going to do it on Zoom. And then I logged into this, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this is so much better. And you can record it, because I paid someone to put it all together for me, to make it look like this. This is already here. So, I mean, it's the networking, it's the connecting with people. Had I not saw, what he put on there to get people to come onto this podcast, and of course, done this because A, I want to share the information, but B, I also want to support him because he supported me in this exact same way. I would have never known about this platform. I'd be on Zoom and then downloading it to my computer, shooting it over to someone on Google Drive and paying them to make it look like this. So connect and network. You got to put yourself out there.
That's right.
Be sure to check out our affiliate link down in the comments below.
There you go.
Right. I'm going to be checking it out.
And if you need anything like tech wise, John is the man for that, and he can assist with anything. Awesome. Yeah, we even like the live stream stuff. If you ever wanted to do a live stream, he's got all that stuff covered. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. See, John is now on my council, as I call it. Yep. Put him on your council. You have to have a person for everything on the council. That's awesome.
So Jess, I wanted to ask you, you're going from a successful career in the Army and a successful career on the civilian side. What kind of advice would you give somebody who is looking to maybe establish themselves and be successful on the civilian side, whether it be in a federal career or a entrepreneurial side? What advice would you give somebody who's looking to retire and move on to that next step?
Absolutely. Well, first you have to prepare. You have to determine ahead of time what it is you want to do, right? Even if you just want to retire and not do anything, that is fine. After a military career, you've earned the right to just retire. But you have to make sure that you've set yourself up financially to do that, right? Because we all too often see retired veterans or just veterans homeless on the street, especially where I am. I see tents with those people, and it's sad. You don't want to be that person. It's really sad. So whatever it is you want to do, plan in advance. If you want to have a job somewhere, you need to network with people who are part of that community, that organization, that field, that profession, so you can see what it is they bring to the table. So you can sort of measure your gaps and start to fill them in, whether that's with training, certifications, diplomas, whatever it is, experience. Sometimes you don't need a diploma. If you have the experience to show, that's okay, because oftentimes companies, especially on the outside, they'll bring you in with your experience and then they'll even pay for your training. My company would actually pay for my PMP, but luckily they don't have to because the military is. But it's a consulting firm, so they want project managers.
Mhm.
But I would definitely say prep. Do not get out there. Don't retire and get out there and think you're going to start fresh with no struggle, not even knowing what you're getting yourself into. And I'll tell a little short story about that. I only was going to do 4 years in the Army. And so I was at Fort Benning for 2 years, and then I went to Korea for 1. I had a fight to come out of Korea because I had less than 6 months remaining on my contract. And so I had to get, I forgot, it was something that started with a C, but I had to get this special approval. Well, anyways, they did let me come back because, it was, crap. It was there and then it went away again.
I think it's called a curtailment.
Curtailment. Oh my God. Thank you, John. Because I was going to, you see, I don't like to leave things unfinished. We were going to sit here for 20 minutes until I figured that out.
I got you. I got you
Yeah.
back.
Thank you. So my brigade commander was so awesome, and he allowed me to leave Korea in 11 months as opposed to the 12 months, which is mandatory there, so that I could come back. Well, first of all, I left my 1-year-old daughter behind when I went to Korea for a year. So that was that. But I got to my 3rd duty station, which I was at RCENT at Fort McPherson, which, is now like Tyler Perry Studios. I don't even think it's a military installation anymore. And I was going to ETS. I didn't even have an associate's degree. I was 21, had been in the Army for, almost 4 years, and I was going to ETS with nothing to show for it but that Ford Focus with 18.75% interest. That's it. And then I decided to go overseas 2 months later to Kuwait and get a $16,500 deployment bonus and re-enlist. Because why would you get out of the military not having prepared yourself for that? It made no sense to me. And although I had no desire for continued service, especially because I was a little bit salty about having to leave my child behind at literally 1-year-old to go to Korea for a year, when, I felt anyone else could have done it. It was Korea. We weren't at war. I just knew that it was the right thing for me. And I made that decision every single time to just keep on going because I wanted to make sure what I wanted to do on the outside, I could walk in with the education, the experience, and the confidence to look really good in an interview, to tell those people, I've never worked outside of the military, but trust me, if you hire me, I'm your girl. I'm going to bring value to your company. And plus you learn those things in the military anyways. Like we just have this ethic that a lot of civilians don't have. And so that also sets us apart. When they hire us, normally they know we have that ethic. That does not mean go work for a civilian job and give, that same ethic that you gave when you were in the military. Like, no, when 5 o'clock comes, get your butt out of there. You're not getting paid overtime, things like that. Like, in the military, 5 o'clock don't mean nothing. But on the civilian side, get out. If you're not getting paid for it, go, do what you do during 9 to 5, excel, be the best. But you got to shift your mindset too. You're not a soldier anymore. You are just an employee. They're going to remind you that anyway. So you need to do it. But that's what I would say. Prepare yourself, because I do feel like, a lot of our retired legal administrators are doing so many different things. Like I'm doing consulting. I have a friend who works for a consulting company, but she's a course director at an Army school. As a civilian, some of us are doing what do you call it? I'm having brain cramps. Selling houses. What's that thing called? Realtor.
Realtor.
First of all, let me tell you guys, you got me up super early on Saturday. But I actually have been up since 4:15. That's the problem. So like
See,
my
kickstart
brain
your
was
day.
already tired. I started at like 4:15. But I mean, they're doing, some people work in finance. Some people are working as aides. I mean, we're doing so many different things. And I say that to say you really could get out and do pretty much anything that you want to do based on your experience for the most part. But you have to have something else to show because you have to be competitive with the outside. So
Yeah. And for the longest time, when I was getting out, I was thinking, you know what could I do? And I was for the longest time looking for other jobs that pertain to my MOS, what I was doing in the MOS,
yep.
and kind of opened my eyes. Like, I'm retiring from that. Why do I want to go
Yes.
back into that? And there's so many people
Yep.
who do that, who go back into that little bubble because it's what they know, instead of
Yes.
getting out, stepping foot outside of that door and seeing what other worlds they can get into. So I see a whole lot
Yes.
of that, but it's so exciting. Like, I'm
It
doing
is.
something completely different from what I was doing in the military. I had to learn it from the
Yes.
ground up, but it's fun and
Mhm.
exciting to learn something new. And I'm sure you feel like
Yes.
that too, starting these businesses.
I do. And even if you have to take a break from retirement before you go into your next career to
Mhm.
finish a degree, to get a certification,
Yeah.
that's okay too. That's an option. But switch. If you're tired of, I didn't want to be a paralegal after joining the Army,
Mhm.
after retiring from the Army. Clearly, I didn't want to be it after the first 10 years of my career. But I mean, I definitely didn't want to do that. I mean, I don't even think most of us even end up doing that. Most of our paralegals retire and they don't, go on to be paralegals.
Right.
Most of the paralegals go on to even be legal office managers, even though they never did our job as the legal administrators in the military. You can do anything that you want, have a plan, and plan up to the plan. You cannot just think you're going to walk in there and show your resume because you have 20 years of in the military that it's going to, make people excited. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to make people excited. If you're not excited about it, they're surely not going to be excited about it. And you can't see it as a job. You have to see it as an opportunity. You have to really, when you're in your interview, that's what has to come across to the other person, to the interviewer. It's like, this person is not taking this as a job. This person is taking this as an opportunity to show us what they can contribute to our bottom line. You have to own that interview, because I know I suck the souls out of people who interview me. Like, I stare them in the eyes, and I think they would feel bad if they didn't hire me. They're like, oh Jesus, a piece of me is in that girl's body because she, like they'd be tossing and turning if they didn't hire me.
Like,
how
how can we move on without having this woman on our team? Yeah.
Exactly. I literally try, like, I tell them that they can't. I'm like, you will be making a huge mistake if you don't.
Yeah.
It's not cocky. It's a little bit like audacious, but
that's funny.
I'm like, you'd be making a huge mistake. Seriously, I've said that.
Walking into the interview like the Godfather.
I'm like walking in, like, when do I start and where's my desk?
Hire me. Your competitors will, and stand by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll
You're gonna
splash all
regret
over your
this.
LinkedIn page. Yes.
I want to see if
you
I
guys
can.
are so funny.
I want to see if I can shift gears for just a quick second. We may have kind of grazed over this, but I do want to ask you about your VA benefits and setting that up. And did you get a chance to go through the BDD process when you retired?
Yes. So that's exactly what I did for my disability claim. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness for SFL TAP. It also helped that, a lot of my friends have retired and gotten theirs. And also my husband, he retired in February of 2020. So that was very helpful. Again, to have people that you can go to who know things so you don't have to learn them on your own. So that was really important to me. And I actually started planning for that process about a year out. So I went to my medical record online. I know it's changed. I don't know where people could find it on MHS Genesis, but I went to like my encounters and my problem list. And even you have to, on the problem list, it used to give you like active and inactive. You have to hit that inactive and you have to see all the things that you were seen for. And then, like I said, you really had to do like a top to bottom, internal, external evaluation of yourself. And this is where you have to be truthful with yourself. Don't worry about trying to be cool or hoorah or whatever you said. I don't know what you said in Marines.
Hoorah, you got it right.
Hoorah. Yeah. But you have to like be realistic with yourself and know that this is for your future. I went and I started setting appointments for all those things about a year out, right? So that I can really get those things evaluated, because they'll tell you if it's not in your medical records, then it's basically not going to be something that you can get a disability determination for. Or they can say that it's something that's service connected, but then you might get 0%, which is helpful for you in getting, medical care, but it's not going to have a monetary, tag associated with it. It's not about, of course, chasing the money, but there's a lot of things that come with the VA rating, especially when you get 100%. I mean, it's life changing. It really, really is, and it's so helpful to your kids. It's helpful to your spouse. So if you really have these issues, you really need to get them documented. So I did that a year out, and then about, I don't know, whenever the day came that I could do it, I think it was sometime in April, even though I retired in October. Yeah, April. That's when I filed my claim. And I used one of those people from the, who he actually worked at the, where we did our SFL tap. He was a VSO. I used a VSO. Doesn't cost me, right? He was awesome. He was so good. And he stayed on my butt. You need to get one of those. You don't need to have if you have a VSO whose butt you have to stay on, fire that VSO. You haven't paid anything for him anyways. And if you have, right. That's wrong. You definitely need to fire him. There should be no exchange of money. But that's mine right. Stayed on my butt. Mine's like, where's that application? Girl, you're taking too long. You got 5 days. Like, he was really on my tail. And he helped me, really comb through my records. And I already had my list of things I was going to claim. Some things he's like, well, I don't know if you could claim this because it's not in your records. And I'm like, just put it on there. And he's like, I can't. And I'm like, okay, fine. Because I was like, they'll figure out whether it's found or not, but it's an issue that I have. But anyway, so he submitted it. The process really wasn't so bad dealing with the VA. Honestly, the VA gets a bad rap, but I'll say my process was awesome. They set me up my appointments through like a third party. I think I had them all like within a week. My comprehensive one was good, even though there was things we couldn't put on my my list because they weren't in my records per se. Right. That person did ask me about them at my exam. And so he did add them because they were problems that I really actually had. Like my hip, I had a problem with my hip, and it kind of made sense because I had plantar fasciitis. I had sprained my ankle, 2 ankles 3 times. I had horrible knee problems. I mean, I had been in physical therapy for like 5 years with my knees at this point, permanent profile. And so I was walking different for years, which of course hurt my lower back. So that was in my records, my like L1, like spine issue. But then of course it made sense that my hip would hurt. I never really had it in my records, but it all made sense, just
they always capture that secondary on there. Huh?
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So it all worked out really well. And I think I ended up getting my payment probably 2 months after. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have any back pay because everything was all good. When I got my rating, I actually got it and they hadn't even made a decision on 3 of my issues. those had to go out for what they called a IMO, which is what
Mhm.
was a independent medical opinion. But because all my other things had already met the 100% requirement, they're like, well, hell, we're just gonna give it to her. This girl's broken, head to toe, inside and out. She is jacked up. So we're gonna go ahead and give her her rating so that we don't have to back pay her. And then when those things come back, then we'll just add them to. Of course, you can't give more than 100%. So it really
Mhm.
didn't matter. It was whether it was service connected or not, and then what
Right.
the percentage is. But that opened up so many other opportunities for
Mhm.
me. And even, my child, like just the Chapter 35 benefits, for example, she
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily right now need to use them. She's using my GI Bill, but she could, maybe like in the summer, if she takes classes at the community college, as opposed to, the
Mhm.
private Catholic college she's going to right now. And then just so many things here in Virginia. I think I don't even have to pay property taxes because of that. I haven't even told them yet, but I plan to get to it, because there's just so many things now that I'm learning is a new benefit for me because of that. But yes, I think that's, if I could tell people to do two things: plan, plan for the job that you want, and please get your medical stuff done. There has to be a time where you're like, it's okay if you're not out there running with the soldiers when you're at year 19, year 20. If you can, that's cool, do it. But if you're truly broken, it's not going to look good for you if you're out there running and you're telling the VA or your doctor that you have issues. It doesn't
Yeah.
look good. So you have to choose you, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. You got to take care of number one, because nobody else is going to take care of that number one except for
Exactly.
that person. Right.
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead. If
Okay.
you got another one?
No,
I knew
I
you guys
actually,
were going to ask about hiring our
yeah,
heroes.
yeah. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about hiring heroes, because that's something that has been on the minds of a lot of folks, especially the military retirement group too. I've seen some questions on there around Facebook. What do you got for us? Hiring our heroes.
Yes. So I highly recommend hiring our heroes. So I did
Mhm.
that. I did the corporate fellowship program. I think there's other options that you can choose. So the way that it worked is you basically you create a resume, which is why I said a resume is very important. And you're in this program I did the 12-week program. So at the beginning of it, your resume is put out into like this system that goes out to all these people who are part of the program. And what they do, they go into the system and they look for people who are matches, literally like a dating app. Well, for me, I had a former colleague who was an attorney who was establishing their own law firm. And so I brought them in to hiring our heroes so that I could work there, because the original goal was to work there after the military. And you can do that. You can seek out your own company to work for, or you can wait to be matched in this system they have with a company that's already part of the program. So that's what I do love. Um, so I did that for 12 weeks. The very first week was like an orientation. So you didn't go to what they call like your host company. You were just with your cohort doing virtual classes. It was
Uh-huh.
a lot of repetitive stuff from SFL TAP, I will say that. But there's no harm in getting the information more than once. The
Yep.
Onward to Opportunity person was there. The VSO from the VA was there about your medical claims. They actually brought in other people to teach you about resume writing and interviewing and things of that nature. So it was beneficial. Um, and then when you go to your host company in that second week, you don't work in your host company on Fridays either, because Fridays you work with your cohort. And
Hmm.
again, for me, that was virtual. You come back and then you just maybe have more classes or things like that. So what I like about that is it gives you the opportunity to test the waters, right? So for me, that job I was testing was being an office manager in a civilian law firm, which of course, Vic, that's what we were doing in the military. Well, guess what that told me? Because that's what I thought I had gotten this education to do. That's what I thought I wanted to do. Guess what it told me? That is
What's
not
that?
what I wanted to do at all. I was like, heck no. I didn't want to go in 5 days a week. I didn't want to work 9 to 5. I didn't want to deal with traffic, because again, I'm here like right outside of the DC area. So I had to pretty much go through traffic every day to get to work. It was actually really hard adjusting to the difference of supervising civilians as opposed to supervising soldiers.
It's a whole different world.
It's not the same.
Yep.
At all. I didn't like it. I was like, no way. At all. Let's just put it that way, because I know this is recorded. But yep.
We'll keep
I
it right
didn't
there.
like it. No. But they did really fun stuff in the office, like happy hours and stuff like that. So
Right.
so that part of it was good. But I'm like, you know what? I want to go somewhere completely different. And then there's a salary offer. There's an offer process as part of that. So like later on, towards, the end of that fellowship, they give you an offer or they don't. Now, most of the times they do, because in order for them to participate, they have to have a position open for you to go in. It's not like free labor for 12 weeks.
Right.
That's just crazy. They actually have to have a position. If you didn't really work out, then of course you won't get an offer. But that doesn't normally happen. Normally you get an offer. For me, it just wasn't what I wanted. The offer wasn't commensurate with my worth. I didn't want to get out and earn what I was already earning. Right. I wanted to earn more. Like, that's why I got a master's degree that I didn't really need. That's why I did these certifications, that I didn't need in the military. So that didn't work for me. And they were a boutique firm. They were just starting out. So I understood that's what they could pay now. And so it was really mutual. I'm like, I'll stick it here to the end. I'll help you all set up. But this isn't going to work for me, because I was really looking for something above 110 at least. So, you got to stick to your guns, right? You can't accept anything. And that's what's the good thing. When you're in the military, they tell you where you're going to PCS to next. They tell you what job you're going to be in. When you have this option, you get to choose. And I almost chose to do it for them because I felt bad saying no. And then my counsel, friends, actually, military mentors, and my husband, of course, most importantly, was like, you don't have to settle. And you don't have to do things because people want you to do. Like, you need to worry about yourself now. You're going in full time, something that I hadn't done for a long time, because even when I went back after COVID, it wasn't really every single day in the office. So I wasn't even used to that anymore. And then the commute, it's expensive and it's time consuming. So I let them know, and I think it was probably like week 5. But I stuck it out. I stayed the whole time because, I was committed. I was loyal. There was, like I said, that person was a former JAG officer. So I really, wanted to just keep like a good relationship there. And then there was a couple girls in the office that I got really close to. They were younger. And I felt they really kind of looked up to me. So it was hard for me to leave that. Like, that was the hardest part, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I said no. And that was okay. I actually had a friend who did the cohort after me go there to kind of work in that position after me. But that's
she
really what
accepted
happened.
a job there?
She did the fellowship, and she also didn't stay either. Because she had higher offers. Because you know what, let me tell you, legal administrators, if you're listening, don't sell yourself short. There's no way you should be getting out of the military after a 20-year career, getting paid less than $110,000, period. Like, even 120. Let me just be honest. I ain't going to tell you what I make, because maybe my company doesn't want me to tell you. But aim at least 110 minimum and try to get yourself over 120, because you are worth it. Period. I'm just gonna say that.
There you go. You are worth it. Aim high, like the Air Force says, right?
Yes. And you know what? You know what? And it's so funny, because when I got my offer from my actual job, I was really happy with the offer, because it was higher than what I had set as like my bar. But then my counsel was like, you should counter offer, because the first offer they give you is the low ball
It's like, yeah,
offer. They always have a cushion, but I didn't know this, right? This is my first time. So I counter offered, and then they met me in the middle, which was still substantially higher than what I wanted, like $12,000 higher. I mean, it was crazy. Don't sell yourself short. Counter offer. All they can do is say no. All they can do is say
yeah.
no, it doesn't fit into our budget, or no, you'll have to wait 2 years, or no, we require a PMP for that. Don't sell yourself short. Just try. You will
Yeah.
be very surprised. I was so surprised.
And if you stuck with that first position, you would have never known about this next one. You would never had the
No,
reason to apply or submit your resume for this following one anyway.
exactly. I'd be making 30,000 plus less.
Wow, that's significant.
30,000
Wow.
plus less. Period.
Well, I'm glad you made that move, Jessica.
And I work 100% remote. I never go in, and I love my company.
We're gonna have to talk after this, all right?
Actually, we have people everywhere in my company. We have people in Hawaii. I mean, yes, they live everywhere. Ohio, Delaware, Florida. So yeah, we'll talk after this. But I love where I work.
No, that's awesome, and I'm glad you found something that kind of that makes you feel complete in your job as well.
Yes.
That's
And it
good.
isn't just about the salary there, but I feel like my salary is appropriate to me because it's commensurate with my skills coming into the new career. And that made me feel so good when they counter offered my offer and I was satisfied with it. It made me feel so worthy. It's like they
Mhm.
see me, and I hadn't felt that feeling in years at the end of my military career. Like, I'm like, oh, they see me. So guess what it did? It made me more loyal to them. It made me more committed. It made me want to, get my project tasks and do an amazing job for my company, because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that what they're paying me, they get their money's worth.
Yeah, and I feel like there's like two schools of people when it comes to that, right? Folks who get out and they kind of sell themselves a little short, like, hey, I'm just going to accept this, whatever, $40,000, $50,000 job. And some folks who
Yes.
have really high expectations, but they don't have the education and
Yeah.
experience to back that up, right? They're
Yes.
applying for 150,000 plus career salaries, but they don't have any education to back it up or anything like that. So there's a happy medium, I
Yes.
think. You have to have a little
It
bit of both,
is.
who you know, what you know, and then finding that right job, in
Yes.
between. Yeah, I like
And
it.
find the right one, because
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
also been offered since jobs that pay a little bit more than what I get now, but they
Hmm.
want me to like go in, and it's like 2 to 3 times a week, and it's like
Yes.
in the DC area, or by Reston, which is near
Hmm.
another airport here, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have to do that here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it may be, $8,000 more or whatnot, which is significant, but it's not worth it. And plus I'd have to
Hmm.
fit into a new culture, and I might not like it. I like the
Yeah.
culture of the company that I'm in. I
Yeah.
like the work that I'm doing. I like the project that I'm on, so it's not all about the money, but that is a factor. I say, what is it? It's purpose, pension, and passion.
Mm.
And pension
I
is
like that.
always going to come last to me.
Oh, that's
Pension
good.
is going to come last. It's going to be
That's good.
purpose, and it's going to be passion. I got to be passionate about the purpose, but the purpose is going to come first. And then the pension has to be something that I'm going to be satisfied with, because of course, time for me as an entrepreneurial mind is money.
Exactly. So, Jessica, we're coming up on our almost 2 hour mark. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to wholeheartedly thank you for sharing your experiences, your transition stories, and your setup for success after leaving the military. Where can people contact you or find you if they wanted to reach out?
Absolutely. So, LinkedIn for sure, right? Network with me
Mhm.
on LinkedIn. If you have questions about anything related to anything we talked to today,
Mhm.
I will respond. I'm one of those people. Like, I will absolutely respond. I'll tell you the resume person. I'll tell you a good VSO. I'll talk you through my VA claims process that I did. So definitely LinkedIn, Jessica Marrisette, my name there. You'll see me. And then My affirmation company email is I do affirm, like ISD square or affirm, right? I do affirm company at gmail.com. So if you need anything related to, empowerment, positive thinking, mental health resources, please hit me up there. If you need any catering, that's Set's Kitchen. So SETTES kitchen at gmail.com. So yes, I'm very responsive. I pretty much respond within 24 hours on all fronts.
Awesome. Yep. That's good.
Early bird
That's good
gets
to
the
know.
worm. So, and I don't like to lose
Absolutely.
worms. And thank you both so much
Thank
for
you.
having me. This was so much better than I thought it would be. And it was absolutely worth, putting a little bit of makeup on at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Like, I'm not
Hey.
even leaving my house today, by the way.
No, it's all good. It was 7 for me. So, hey, don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can't
So
complain.
I got out of bed. I'm like, oh, let's throw some water on my face.
I
Let's
will
get
not
it.
complain.
Let's get
But
it.
that's a good point. For every issue that you have or every complaint, there's someone who has it a little bit worse than you. So
Well,
that's a great way to leave
it
my
was
life.
100% worth it. So I appreciate you coming out and talking with us, Jessica. John, as always, a pleasure. And for
Yes,
everybody out
John.
there, this is another success story showing you that hurdles come and go, but life isn't so bad outside the uniform.
That's right. And hey,
Yeah, thank you very much. And just to put it out there, actually, let me just ask you real quick, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you maybe want to touch on? Anything that we missed? Anything at all?
if I can say this for sure.
Yeah, sure.
I do believe that everyone can be an entrepreneur to an extent, right? You have to have a certain spirit, but find something that you love and then really decide if it's something that you're good at. And then if it's something that you're good at, ask yourself, can it make you money? And if it can make you money, ask yourself where and how you can do it. I don't care if it's quilt making, candle making, Vic has his art, public speaking, maybe you're good at it. Just find something. You can monetize anything. You really can. But you still have to have that entrepreneurial spirit, which means you got to be, ready to work hard, work all the time if it requires. You got to be able to take no for an answer, but then, go past 5 no's to get to a yes. But also try that, because there's a lot of us out there, I believe, that are missing out on money because we don't know what we don't know. So I'll say that.
So skill coupled
Excellent.
with passion will get you where you need to go. I like it.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's
I like that.
I think that's it.
Well, also from my end, thank you both. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Victor. This has been amazing. Thank you for blessing us with your time and giving us your time. Just to let everybody else know out there in the internet, in the world, if you're watching this online, YouTube or Spotify, if you're listening to it through any of the podcast platforms, Apple, wherever you hear it, and be sure to check us out on Reads Across America Radio on Wednesday evenings. We're also there. Thank you much to both of you. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. I agree. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, Jessica.
I wish this the best because this is awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.